Ecclesiastes 3 says, "There's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." Verse 7 talks about a time to tear and a time to sow. And it just so happens that the guest for this episode is a pro at threading the needle. Hi everybody, and welcome to another episode of In All Things. The guest for this episode is a wearer of many hats. She's an artist, a mom of 4, and a small business owner. So please welcome Erin Marek. Hi, Erin.
Hi, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Good, things are good.
I have a cup of tea here. What do you have?
I am a coffee drinker, for sure.
Okay.
I'll never admit how many cups a day, but it's a lot. But yeah, that's what I've got going here.
I know you do a lot of things, like illustration sketches, but one, I would say, major thing that I love from your creations is your linen dolls. So,
thanks.
Yeah. So could you tell me what was the first creation? Like, how did that start? And how did you start making your linen dolls?
So I have a big family. I have a lot of younger siblings, and one of my younger sisters was receiving her first communion, and I was looking for a present. I'm like trying to figure out something unique, something different, and I was like, oh, it would be cool to have like a soft doll you could bring to mass with you. It wouldn't make a lot of noise, it wouldn't be like a toy that creates distraction. And so I looked, like, oh, somebody has to be making these. So I went online and I looked, and I couldn't find, there's a few already made, but I couldn't find one that really was my own style that I wanted. So I was like, I know how to sew. I can do this. So I made it. And then I made her name is Monica. So I made a Saint Monica, and I made a Mother Teresa. And I shipped them to my parents' house, and my mom was so in love with them. She brought them to church. She asked for more. She would like pass them around to the kids at church. And so that's kind of how I started. And I realized like this could be something other people could really appreciate too.
I love the, you just didn't stop after realizing, oh, like there's no product out there for what I need. That was actually like an inspiration for you to create. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Sure.
Yeah. So what sorts of reactions have you gotten from people who have bought and supported your creations?
Well, mainly positive, I gotta say. I'm pretty active on Instagram. That's kind of where my business lives. And people there have just been amazing. When I first started, I was maybe selling like 1 a month or like maybe 2. And 1 month I sold 7, and I'm like, oh my gosh, 7. They were all to the same woman. She was like so into it. So she was like, she sustained me, for like 5 weeks. So like she was buying one every time I put one up. So that was really cool. It's like encouraging that like not only would someone buy one, that they would like it enough after they got it to be like, oh, I'd like have another one of these. So that was like a really good, reason to keep going. Like, okay, people like these. And yeah, from there, it just kind of snowballed. Like my mom, I said, was like a really good support. In the back of her church, if you go to the parish she goes to, she has a big basket of them. And like, she has like 20 of them, I think, and she'll pass them out to kids. And so that was a good like word of mouth way to spread the news. And so, yeah, and even still, my advertising budget is 0. People just tend to, show them to other people. And so that's been really cool. Like if you like something enough to share it with a product enough to share it with someone else, I think that really speaks, to it. So, yeah.
The linen dolls, I think it's also a great evangelization tool for younger generations, kids especially.
Yeah, for sure. If you can, when I was younger, I don't ever remember having like any kind of toy that was like, we had like items around the house. Maybe we had like a nativity set, but I don't really remember having like a toy very specific to a saint.
Exactly.
Maybe like a prayer card or a bookmark or something like that. But having something that like my daughter has one that she sleeps with every night, and you kind of create that real connection between like, this is someone because the saints were real, so that kind of helps kids understand like this is a real thing. It's not just a photo up on a wall, like it can be, in the world. So I really like that. And yeah, evangelization too. Some people buy them that aren't even Catholic. Some people buy them to give to friends who aren't, so I think that's really cool too. I have a friend who, she isn't Catholic, but she's like, I love every single one you put out. I want to buy all of them. And I'm like, all right.
Wow, that's amazing.
Would love to have the saints in your house.
They must be like so thrilled up there in heaven every time a doll enters, a non-Catholic home. Or
I can only hope so.
Yeah, that's great. So I saw on Instagram too that you actually grew up with a really big family. And not only that, but you mostly have sisters, right? And I think
yes, I have
just
10...
the one brother.
Yes, I have one brother. Prince John, we call him, because he's the one boy. But yeah, I have 10 sisters and a brother, so quite a active household, you might say.
Yeah. Well, what was that like, being surrounded by so many female figures in your life?
Well, it's interesting. I whenever people ask me what it was like growing up with a lot of people, especially sisters around, I can really only speak to my own experience, right? Like, I don't know what it's like to be an only child. I don't know what it's like to have all brothers, so I can only speak to that. But it was certainly not quiet. But something I feel like that many people, and especially women in one house, taught me is like how to interact with different types of personalities, right? Because when you enter the wider world, you've got quiet people, you've got shy people, you've got loud people, you've got all types. And within our family, it's also that way. It runs the gamut from like very extroverted to very introverted and like everything in between. So you kind of learn how to communicate with all types of people. And then when you kind of leave your home and enter the wider world, it gives you an edge, kind of, I feel like, on how to, especially when you have roommates. A lot of people, like, if they've never shared a room before, all of a sudden they go to college and have a roommate, and you're like, living with that close to someone else can be jarring. But I feel like that was something that definitely was a plus, growing up with so many people around.
I can kind of relate in that my mom is number 7 of 10. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. So do you have a lot of cousins?
I do. We're huge. Okay. We're a huge family. So many cousins. Yeah. So that's fun. And I only have 2 older sisters. So like even with that, even with just 2 sisters, like it can get really, eventful.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you're a Catholic creative. And you constantly co-create with God. I like to think that as creatives, that's really us kind of bonding with God the Father, the creator of all creation. And you do that in many different ways. As I said, you're aware of many hats. You have Marek maid, and you're also a mom of 4. So how much of your creativity is informed by your motherhood and vice versa?
Well, I think with my like specific work, the saints, like I want my kids to see that around the house. I want them to see saints from all over the world around the house so they can understand like the universality of the church. That's really important to me. But as far as like the actual practice of like making art, I think art and motherhood are similar, art making and motherhood are similar in the way that there's no hard and fast rule for it. There's no like, this is the way that you are a mother. This is the way that you are an artist. You're learning with every day. You can take parenting classes, but nothing really prepares you for this. You can take art classes, you can get better at the skills, but no one's going to put those ideas in your head. You have to kind of be able to live in this space of like, I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I'm going to do my best. And so I feel like that, I feel the same when I'm creating something or when I'm like trying to figure out like some sort of maybe issue with one of our children, that you have to kind of be loose and be able to pivot and change your mind as you go along, based on, whatever's happening in that moment. So for me, that's like definitely something that I've realized since becoming a mom, like 7 years ago, is like in the ways how creative mothering is, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you actually, like, because like art, I guess it's different for me because I'm not a mother, but like when I, try to paint or draw, it forces me to be slow, and really take my time. I'm wondering if that's the same with you, or maybe has becoming a mother changed that dynamic for you?
I think that I'm still pretty slow in like decision making when it comes to my art. But I've kind of always been that way, a little more like I'll create something and I won't put it out right away. I'll create it and then I like to sit with it for a while. I mean, sometimes crazy. Like I sat with one of my portraits for like 9 months before my John Paul II portrait. I like made it and then I thought like, I don't know if this is finished.
Wow.
And I like set it down and then like 8 months later I came back to it and I'm like, I just gotta show this to people.
9 months, so it's like an entire pregnancy.
Right. Sometimes it feels like that way. Like I'm giving this into the world.
Yes,
I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but here we go. So in ways, and then in other ways, it's kind of quickened my processes with art because I only have so much time, so I have a lot of things to do with my kids. That's my primary, focus. And then, in the 20 minutes I have here, in the, right now, the half hour I have now, the kids are happy and playing nicely. So it's like, okay, if I have 20 minutes, okay, I'm going to do this really fast and get it done. But that's more like the physical making of it, where like the thought process then would, I'm kind of slower in that regard. Right.
I'm wondering, do your kids have any favorite dolls of yours from your life?
My son, his middle name is Francis, after Francis of Assisi. And so I made him a St. Francis a long time ago. And recently he asked if he could make his own. So I gave him like all the pieces and I put it up. I'll have to send you the picture because it's real cute. And I allowed him to like pick whatever he wanted to put on it. So it's St. Francis in his brown habit. And he put like a bird on his chest, and then he put a lamb, like a little white lamb on the bottom. And then he made a lamb into a zebra by like writing these black marks on it. So it's like St. Francis with a lamb and a zebra. It's the cutest. And that's like, it's his. Like they get like one of each doll I make, but that's his favorite now because he made it and it's his. And so it's really sweet to see that.
I love it. Wow. You're slowly passing on the baton.
Oh yeah. I hope so.
Wow, that would be really exciting when they get older for you to share that with them.
Yeah, I like having them around. Like I have a sewing room upstairs near their bedroom. And, even when I'm working, I can leave the door open and they always like wander in. And I mean, sometimes they make a big mess, but usually they're like, what is this? What is this for? What is this for? And I love that. I love being able to show them like, my passions and what I love to do. And that like, yes, I'm their mom, but I also have these interests and kind of encourage them to whatever their interest is. I'm not sure now, they're all real young, but to really go for it and whatever their gifts are, to really go after them.
And I'm sure, that just practice right there is really planting seeds in their hearts. Yeah, like, wow, mom is following her passion. And
yeah.
I love that. So as I was just getting ready for this chat, I was looking through the Bible and just Ecclesiastes 3 really struck me. And so it's for everything there's a season and a time for every matter under heaven. And so it, kind of gives you the juxtaposition between moments of, I guess, downward moments and upward moments. And so verse 7 talks about a time to tear and a time to sow. And it's, you could take it very literally and say, yes, linen dolls and whatnot. But yeah, let's dig deeper there. And I'm wondering, what have been some notable seasons where you have had to tear and also sow?
Yeah, so I love that for everything there is a season. And I think for everyone that looks extremely different, the seasons of your life. But for me, it's interesting. I never really, this is going to sound bad. I never really wanted to get married right away. I never really thought like I was going to have a lot of kids young. it was like an option, but it wasn't really something I was like really going for. And so I had this kind of in my mind, like, okay, I'm going to be an artist. I went to school in Boston. I lived in Manhattan for a while, and I was going to be like this independent, you know, work in a museum, do all these things, whatever. And then I met my husband, of course, that everything there changed. But I think like during that time I was independent. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, I think, at that moment. And then, you know, the seasons changed, and maybe in the future, I'll get that sort of time back, if you will, like the more time to really focus, you know, God willing, my husband and I will grow very old together. And, but right now, the season I'm in now is one of like motherhood. It's of family. It's of, you know, making sure my kids are learning, and I'm not as independent, I guess, as I like planned on. So I think, yeah, like looking back and seeing the different seasons and how maybe the change of the season was a struggle, you know, that's sort of like, I want to hold on to that, but you can't hold on to spring. It's going to be summer, you know, you can't. So kind of like recognizing those changes. And now that I don't want to say older and wiser, but now that I'm older, you can move through those transitions a little easier. You know, because you do know that there will be a season for this. There will be a season to celebrate this part of me. There will be a season to celebrate this part of my kids or my husband. But not to look too far back and not to look too far forward.
Yeah. So, you know, we're all working towards sainthood. And for sure, that's a message that I really see so clearly in your platform. You know, you're really inspiring sainthood amongst all of us. So if you could design your own saint doll, you know, I know that's kind of a weird question, but you know, like we're all kind of hoping to
on our way, right? I don't have my halo yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of like a black t-shirt and jeans kind of girl, so that's my like my uniform, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's for sure. That would be kind of like my look. I love music. I love art. So anything sort of like attached to that would probably be a feature. But yeah, that's probably it. Very pale skin. That's for one thing. That Polish and Irish can't get away from it.
So you would be the patron saint of something.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe something artistic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of much more talented artists than I that could probably fill that role. But yeah, I am an introvert. So
Me too.
and I have you, which is why this is very different for me to be doing. But I could probably be the patron saint of like introverted moms, because I think that's like an interesting subset that doesn't really get talked about that often. Is that like when you're an introvert and you become a mom, it's difficult. It's difficult because you need your alone time, and to be honest, you're never alone. You know, so
that is so true.
That would be something.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a patron saint of
maybe there is. I gotta look for it. I'm sure there is. There's one for everything, you know. So I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. I'm curious to see what mine would look like as well. I'd probably.
You got your signature bangs. You got your signature bangs there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. Yeah. Bangs. Yeah.
Yeah. Any kind of hobby or like, you know.
Yeah. Probably. Throw a camera in there.
There you go.
I studied psychology, so I don't know, something with the brain.
Yeah. Sometimes when people are real smart, I just put a book on there. You know?
Right. Yeah, that's fun. I'm wondering too, like in creating your linen dolls, like how much research goes into that, or like what was your most researched saint?
Well, there's a lot. You know, I mean, we have specific images that we've always grown up with certain saints, right? And sometimes they're accurate and sometimes they're not, as far as like what their actually physical appearance was. And sometimes we really don't know. We have no way of knowing. There's no writings about it. There's no anything. So, but I do like to research, at least if I don't know, like where they're from, where they were born, where they grew up, maybe if that where their parents were from. That can kind of give you like an idea. At least sometimes it can give you an idea of complexion to kind of go for. But one of the ones I really researched was Saint Monica, and I haven't actually made her yet because I've been doing a lot of research, like figuring out like, okay, where she was from. It's like North Africa, like what would she have worn, and so I've been doing a lot of research lately into her to figure out how I should portray her. And my dolls are very simple, so I kind of just need like one or two things that really speak to them. Like if it's a color that the country maybe would be known for, or because she was such a great mother, of course, to St. Augustine, like there's certain colors that represent motherhood. There's certain, symbols or even fruits that represent motherhood. So I made one saint that was a mother once, and I sewed a pomegranate onto it because it's like a symbol of fertility and like life-giving. So yeah, I really do try to dive deep into figuring out who these people were and kind of, learning about them. Because I think, if you can make St. Francis is easy, right? You go, okay, brown habit, whatever. Like he's very recognizable.
Yes.
But I like to kind of like give little tidbits to make, other saints, easily recognizable.
I'm wondering too, like in the process of creating these dolls, do you ever ask for their intercession as well?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think they sometimes, when people say that like you don't always find your patron saint, they find you.
Oh, yeah.
They start to like pop up in places. And there are some saints where like I never even would have thought, either I didn't know about them or I never even would have thought to create them. And then they kind of like keep popping up, whether it's like in my research or whether it's like, I happen to see a statue at mass or something. They like, okay, this one is talking to me. Like I got, so that was the case with Saint Dymphna of Ireland, where I didn't really know much about her. And I've only made her once as like a custom doll a number of years ago, but I have grand plans for her in early next year. And she just kept popping up. Like someone would mention her. I'm like, wait a second. Then my husband mentioned her. And then I found like a little medal of her. And I'm like, okay, she really wants me to look more into this. And she's the patron of like anxiety and depression and other kind of like mental struggles. And so that was really, something that is really close to my heart too. So I was like, okay, she wants me to create her. So I've been working on her for a little bit.
That really reminds me of how just the Holy Spirit, can really work through our lives. For me, that's when I know that, okay, God, he's nudging me towards doing something, is when you see those repetitions, and they're not just like random, but they're kind of, they're purposeful repetitions.
Yeah, and if you're keeping your eyes open and if you're keeping your heart open to the Holy Spirit to move, then you'll see them. I mean, he's probably planting them with everyone, but not everyone is looking for them or is noticing them. So I think that's really important. Yeah, the Holy Spirit, that's a good point.
So we've covered a lot here, and I really enjoyed our chat here.
Oh, good. Me too.
Yeah, I'm really excited for just the future of Marek Made. What aspirations do you have for your small business?
Well, I mean, I love to keep making the dolls. I can't make enough of them. That's kind of the problem. But
and I'd love to get a chance to purchase one, but it's always sold out.
Well, at the beginning of this year, I tried to hire someone to help me at least with like the prep work, but then the world sort of imploded, so that kind of had to be stopped for a bit. But I do have that hopefully coming back as soon as I can. So that'll kind of help me do that faster. But I love to keep creating the portraits that I've been making. I'd love to do some kind of class. I'm not sure what, but I'd love to just share with people what I do. A lot of people in my community have mentioned that they don't know how to sew. And I think that's a really important skill to have. I was lucky enough, my mom taught me to sew when I was little. And so I kind of just grew up with having that skill, but it's definitely something that most people, I would say the majority of people just don't have anymore. And so I'd love to do some kind of local sewing class, something to kind of pass on, like we talked about before, pass on these gifts that I've been given to someone else, and then, so forth. So yeah, I'd love to do something like in-person classes or maybe online. I don't know. I don't know. I never planned too far in advance, but those are my dreams.
Oh, yeah, that's something that I need to work on. I am a huge planner.
Are you?
Yeah. So, and all of a sudden, when things don't go as planned,
Right.
I'm wondering, oh, why? But hello.
Yeah, right.
I'm a creator, but I'm not the creator. So.
Right. Well, exactly. You can create a few weeks in advance and then kind of like see what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Well, I will continue to pray for your ministry, and thank you so much for just sharing your gifts with all of us. I'm excited to keep seeing it grow, and to see more creations pop out.
Thank you so much. It was awesome to talk to you.
Yes.
Thank you for your thoughtful questions. They're like really great.
I really enjoyed this chat, and I wish you all the best, Erin, and
thank you so much. Oh, cheers.
Clink.
Yeah, right.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.